Okay, let's dive right in. We hear about AI every single day. But the real story isn't just the apps on our phones. It's the massive hidden skyscraper of technology that makes it all possible in the first place. So today, we're going to go on a journey. We're going to start at the physical foundation, the literal ground floor, and go all the way up to the penthouse to really understand how this AI revolution is being built, layer by incredible layer. Here's our roadmap. We'll start with power in place, then the silicon engines, then building the brains and the command center. And finally, we'll tie it all together and look at the interconnected future. So let's start at the very bottom with the one thing AI absolutely cannot exist without: raw physical power. As Daniel Roberts, the CEO of IREN, puts it, this digital world has a very, very real-world appetite. Check out this number: 4.5 gigawatts. That's how much power IREN alone has secured. Now, to put that into perspective for you, that's almost as much energy as the entire San Francisco Bay Area uses in a whole year. This isn't just some abstract number. It's a huge statement about the incredible physical scale that AI demands. And because of that massive energy demand, the old way of doing things has been totally flipped on its head. You see, it used to be about building data centers close to cities, close to people. Not anymore. Now, it's all about going directly to the source of cheap and often stranded renewable energy. So the crucial point here is that these massive data centers are now being built in the middle of nowhere, like a desert. Not because the real estate is cheap, but because that's where the wind turbines and solar farms are. They're basically taking this stranded power that wouldn't get used otherwise, turning it into a digital commodity, computing power, and then exporting it to the rest of the world at the speed of light. Okay, let's climb up to the next layer. So you've got the power. Now you need the engines. And that's where folks like Michael Intrater from CoreWeave come in. They're building this super specialized hardware, the infrastructure that AI actually runs on. But here's the big multi-billion-dollar question that hangs over this entire layer. With technology moving so ridiculously fast, does all this eye-wateringly expensive hardware become totally worthless in just a couple of years? It's a huge gamble. Well, Intrater says that idea is just nonsense. He argues the reality on the ground is totally different. Get this. Clients are signing 5-year contracts for this hardware. And the older chips? They find a whole new life powering less demanding tasks. It's kind of like an old iPhone. It's still incredibly useful, just not for the absolute cutting-edge stuff. The value is real, and it lasts. And this just brilliantly illustrates the kind of financial innovation you need at this scale. CoreWeave came up with this genius financing vehicle they call the box. Basically, they package up the client contracts, the GPUs, and the leases into these self-contained financial units. It totally de-risks the massive spending and allowed them to raise billions and scale up at a truly incredible pace. All right, so we have power and we have hardware. Now we need the intelligence, the brains of the operation. Arthur Mensch from Mistral AI explains that, especially for big business customers, the AI brain just can't be a one-size-fits-all solution. You and I are probably most familiar with those general-purpose models we can all access. But big companies, they have a totally different set of needs. I mean, think about it. They're sitting on decades of their own secret sauce, their own intellectual property. They can't just send all that sensitive data out to some third-party service. They need to turn their private data into a private competitive advantage. So what this all boils down to for these big companies is a desperate need for open-source tech. They need something they can control, something they can secure on their own systems, and something they can customize from the ground up. It's all about taking their unique company knowledge and building AI that's tailor-made for their most important work. And that brings us to the top of the stack, the penthouse, if you will. This is the interface, the command center, where all this incredible power is finally harnessed and put to use. Aravind Srinivas of Perplexity is one of the architects building this layer. This quote is the perfect metaphor. He says the big AI models are basically the instruments in an orchestra, but what really matters is the end result, right? The music you actually play. Perplexity doesn't build the instruments. They act as the conductor, choosing the right instrument for the right task to create a perfect piece of music, or in this case, a perfect, useful answer. And this leads to a really profound shift in how we even think about using computers. Instead of giving a computer specific step-by-step instructions, you just give it a high-level goal. You say what you want to achieve, and the AI acts like an operating system, orchestrating all the different tools it needs to get the job done for you. And you can see this evolution happening right before our eyes. It started with just giving an AI access to the internet to answer questions accurately. Then it got browser access to perform simple tasks. And now the goal is to give it access to the entire computer to truly become the operating system that carries out complex, multi-step projects on your behalf.
So, after our journey all the way up the stack, let's take a moment and connect all these different pieces together.
The key thing to realize is that each layer is completely 100% dependent on the one below it. You can't run an application without a model. You can't train a model without hardware. And that hardware is basically a very expensive paperweight without massive, massive amounts of power. It's all one single interconnected tower of innovation. And this quote just captures the ultimate vision perfectly. The end goal of this entire stack, it isn't just to build a slightly better chatbot. The dream is to create systems so powerful and so autonomous that they can literally run entire businesses for you while you're off sipping wine somewhere. Which leaves us with a pretty powerful and honestly a provocative thought, doesn't it? What happens when a business can actually run itself? This interconnected stack we've just explored isn't just building better search engines. It's laying the foundation for a future where the very nature of work, of commerce, of how we do everything could be fundamentally transformed. And that is something worth thinking about.